Hello everyone, today we are going to Alabama death row to see what crimes got these inmates the capital punishment and how long have they been waiting for the sentences to be carried out.
A News 19 review found the average inmate in the state is on death row for more than 16 years.
Now looking at Alabama's death row population, it currently houses 166 inmates, 161 men, 5 women, 85 white inmates, 79 black inmates, and 2 listed by the state as other races. Alabama has executed 69 people since 1983.
There are currently 166 prisoners awaiting execution in this state, so this is part 1. William Bush, 41 years on death row. He is the longest serving death row inmate in Alabama, awaiting his execution since 1982. He was sentenced for murdering Montgomery convenience store clerk Larry Dominguez in 1981 during a robbery. He is now 73 years old. Harry Nix, 39 years on death row. He was convicted in 1984 for the murder of Robert Black during a shop robbery in 1983. He is 72 years old. Earl Jerome McGahee, 37 years on death row. He was convicted for entering a nursing school classroom in September 1985 and murdering his ex-wife and another female student. He is 66 years old. Harvey Lee Windsor, 33 years on death row. He received the death penalty for robbing and shooting Randall Pepper at a gas station in 1989. He is 60 years old today. David Freeman, 33 years on death row. He was convicted on October 20, 1989 for murdering 17-year-old Mary Gordon and for essaying then murdering her mother as well. He is 54 years old. Kenneth Eugene Smith, 33 years on death row. He was charged with the murder of Elizabeth Sennett, who was found dead in her home after being stabbed 8 times in the chest and once on each side of her neck. Smith was paid $1,000 to commit this crime by the woman's husband, a preacher that hoped to collect insurance money. Smith is now 58 years old. Michael Anthony Sockwell, 33 years on death row. He was convicted of shooting and murdering Montgomery County Deputy Sheriff Isaiah Harris. The crime happened in 1988 and the wife of the victim was actually a co-defendant. Sockwell is now 61 years old. Gregory Hunt, 33 years on death row. He got the death penalty for essaying and beating his ex-girlfriend Karen Lane. He is 63 years old. Charles Randall Stewart, 33 years on death row. He was convicted in 1990 for shooting and killing his ex-wife in front of their 6-year-old son. He is 70 years old. Mark Allen Jenkins, 32 years on death row. Tammy Hoagland, a restaurant employee from Birmingham, was last seen there on April 18, 1989, and Jenkins was found guilty of her murder. Her body was discovered next to a highway. Jenkins, who has an IQ of 76, is mentally impaired and should not be executed, according to his attorneys. He is 56 years old. Charles Lee Burton, 31 years on death row. Along with another man, he was convicted of murdering Doug Battle during a robbery that they committed in 1991. He is now 68 years old. Jeffrey Day Reber, 31 years on death row. He was convicted of killing Glenda Phillips in 1990 at a convenience store. He is now 56 years old. Wayne Holman Travis, 30 years on death row. He was convicted for the murder of Clarine Haskew, a 69-year-old widow, in her home during a burglary. His co-defendant, Stephen Hall, initially got the same sentence, but later he was resentenced to life in prison. Travis is now 54 years old. Michael Shannon Taylor, 30 years on death row. Taylor was just 19 years old when he murdered Ernest and Lucille Moore, an elderly couple for which he occasionally mowed the lawn. He wanted to steal their money and car. Taylor is now 52 years old. Christopher Barbour, 29 years on death row. Barbour essayed, stabbed, murdered, and then set on fire the body of Thelma Bishop Roberts in her home. The next day, her 16-year-old son found her on the bedroom floor with a plastic bag over her head and a knife in her chest. Barbour is now 54 years old. Jimmy Davis, 29 years on death row. Davis was convicted for the murder of Johnny Hazel during a robbery in a convenience store in 1993. He is now 53 years old. Alonzo Lydell Burgess, 29 years on death row. He was charged with the murders of his girlfriend Sheila Nodimal, who was 31 years old, and her 2 daughters, Latoria Long, 14 years old, and Alexis Nodimal, 8 years old. There was proof that he used the carjack's portion to beat the victims. Burgess is now 57 years old. David Lee Roberts, 29 years on death row. He was convicted for murdering Anitra Jones during a robbery in 1992. She was the wife of the man that gave shelter to Roberts. Roberts is now 57 years old. Casey McWhorter, 29 years on death row. Edward Lee Williams Sr. was attacked and killed by Casey McWhorter and two juvenile accomplices, one of whom was the victim's son, before they robbed the house. McWhorter is now 49 years old. Robin Myers, 29 years on death row. He was convicted of murdering Ludie Mae Tucker and injuring a guest that she had in a home invasion in 1991. He is now 62 years old.
My name is Mae Puckett, and I was a juror on the capital murder case for Rocky Myers. I felt like at any time I could hear that pivoting moment that would help me make a decision one way or another, and it didn't come. The DA never presented us with a strong case saying that Rocky Myers killed Ludie Mae Tucker. It never came.
There was no physical evidence of him being there. There was a palm print on the door, never linked to Rocky, never linked to family members or anything like that. So, if there's a possibility of it being the perpetrator, it certainly was not Rocky.
I just knew as Miss Tucker, a nice white lady like that, and it gave me stuff if I needed for, some bread or anything that I needed that could go on my table. She would help me out, stuff like that there, and just someone that I would just rather help than hurt.
Going into the deliberation room kind of had a cloud hanging over it already, because you knew you couldn't, it didn't matter what you said, you couldn't get anywhere with certain people. They weren't going to listen to anything. We felt like if we had a hung jury, that he would in time go to trial again and could possibly be sentenced to death. For the judge to just not accept that. Why were we chosen? Why did it go to trial? I don't know of anything I could have done differently.
Rocky's case is out of court, so he has no ability to appeal his conviction, no matter what. The only option for him at this point could be about his sentence, and so we will ask the governor for clemency, meaning would she commute his sentence to life without parole.
Roy Edward Perkins, 29 years on death row. He kidnapped and shot Katie Gilliam, and he also essayed 3 other women in 1990. He is now 63 years old. Willie Jr. Burgess, 29 years on death row. He was charged with shooting and killing the female owner of a shop that he was trying to rob. Burgess is now 49 years old. Eugene Milton Clemens, 28 years on death row. He is guilty of fatally shooting Federal Drug Enforcement Special Agent George Douglas Ault in a carjacking in 1992. He is now 52 years old. Larry Donald George, 29 years on death row. He was convicted for murdering 2 neighbors in 1988 and then shooting his ex-wife, leaving her paralyzed from the waist down. He is now 68 years old. Anthony Boyd, 28 years on death row. Together with another friend, he took revenge on Gregory Hughley in 1993 by burning him to death for a debt related to drugs. He is now 52 years old. That is it for today, guys. This new series will take us to every state that still has the death penalty, and we will take a look at all of the prisoners that are waiting to be executed. Please hit that subscribe button if you like my channel. See you next time. Bye bye.